welcome whoever is here. Please drop us a comment so we can see that you are here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let us know where you're watching from. Just if drop where you are in the world, and we'll respond because we're live. We're really here.
Yes, exactly. And we supposed to talk about basically wine events and the future of wine events here. And I asked Lawrence to join me because I think it was last week or the week before we ran into each other on a tasting, and we started to discuss what we see there and how things happen, and very, very common views, I suppose, generally, and we sort of in a similar field. I suppose we can both sort of introduce ourselves. Shall I go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, you take it away, Ch
I'll take it away. Okay. Well, hopefully some people know me because you guys on my LinkedIn channel. But my name is 𝐶. I'm a wine business consultant, originally an economist, but I've been in the wine trade for over 13 years, nearly 14 years, in various positions, various roles, from sales to marketing, importing. Did a lot of things, events as well. For a while, I was head of events partnerships for an award-winning independent wine merchant. I did very small events, very big events, and in terms of, organizing them, and in terms of when I was importing my own wines, I did a lot of consumer and trade events as well across London and the UK. I don't really want to name too many, but definitely like London Wine Fair, SIT, Three Wine Men, Taste of London. A lot of them. So, and I was standing on both sides of the table, so I was an exhibitor, and many times I was there in a buying role, and have my views on how things go, and I think we have very similar views, but let's discuss that in a bit.
Yeah,
you want to go for it?
Exactly.
And introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, but please, because again, I'm on your channel, and you said to me, recommended to me to do LinkedIn Live, which I've not done before. So I think it's, again, great we're happy to sort of follow your lead. But I'm just curious, I know we say we had a chat, but, is there a particular reason why now you wanted to do this particular topic?
I don't know, because I've been recently visited a few events, and it's something changed since the pandemic, I suppose. That's probably the main thing. We're way off from the pandemic now, but there was a big shift in terms of live events, I suppose. And I had a few years off from that, maybe because of childcare, maybe because of my role changed a little bit, and I worked a lot, in front of the laptop and at home. But I went back and I visited a few events now, and I think there's a definite shift in behavior and just generally how things go in the wine world. But I don't know what's your thought on this and the timing and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, the reason that I thought it was a really good time to talk about this is really because, we're I think, have to recognize we have a bias towards London. We talk a lot about events that take place in London, and people who are watching this live or on replay from around the world. I think you have to, of course, adapt really what we're saying. But I just think it's in London. There is an oversupply of events. I think first and foremost, and maybe tuning into what you've said there in terms of how things have changed. It's just everyone is all kind of trying to get the same attention, and I think that everyone's kind of using the same channels. And there's millions of ways to think about that, but I think it reminds me of things like, are you going into a red ocean or a blue ocean? Are you all just trying to compete for the same attention, and it's a sort of a scrabble for attention, or are you actually doing something different, and therefore you're making more space for yourself and more space for the brands as well, more space for communication, and potentially a high quality communication as well. So I definitely think there's tweaks really to what people can be doing, and I think that we both come from the goal of being positive. I don't think that anyone looking at this should feel criticized. I just think it's, again, everyone's on the same side. Everyone's moving towards a growing wine category that's vibrant, that's bringing new people in, and I think that will help people in the regions, and people like us who are in cities and working in wine. So excited to talk. One thing, just in case we've got people who've jumped on since we started, and I'd see there's a nice comment from Wayne. How you doing, Wayne? Please just drop a comment on the stream, just to let us both know where you're from, and we'll again, as I say, try to tailor what we're talking about to people around the world. And of course, any questions at all, also drop those in. So
yes, I was going to mention, if you guys have any questions, comments, please do, because at the end we probably want to try to sort of get back on the questions a little bit more, and then if we can't get to anyone else, or if we can't get to someone's question, we definitely going to reply. Otherwise, after the live in comments as well. So
cool. All right, my glamorous assistant, could you please put my presentation on there? And
oh dear, I have to call my people to do that for you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, call your people to call my people.
There we go.
So don't worry, I don't want this to be death by PowerPoint, but I just also want to kind of structure it and frame it, because it's a massive topic. I mean, I think that's something to acknowledge. So just I want to just introduce myself, and let's see how the internet is holding up. It was a little bit slow earlier, so let's see if we can bring it back to life. Okay, there we go. Good looking guy. So
you're
just
talking about
very
me?
briefly,
No.
so I'm known most widely in wine, I would say, as the founder of Interpreting Wine. For the purposes of today, I'm fine to go with that, but what I do, I think, has broadened out into really audio, I would say, rather than just a podcast. And there's a whole other scene to kind of talk about. But always I've tried to look at the channel and try to get engagement from the wine trade. I mean, which naturally has been the audience that I've gathered. So as you see there, tended to attract a high level of guests, and I think that's out of respect for the audience as well. Something that you'll probably notice as we go through is kind of my past life really coming out. So for more than 10 years, I worked as a business psychologist, and no one knows what that is, least of all business psychologists. So I think the key thing and the relevant thing to bring out here is that it's definitely got to focus on efficiency and effectiveness around work. So it includes teams, it includes services. So I think that's actually potentially a useful perspective to bring across to wine events, and not kind of go down the same path that everyone else is kind of going down, and maybe give a different perspective. So again, I'm going to be today, I think, using again maybe some more of that business psychology experience, and looking at some models around events rather than tactics, because if we can sit here and we can say, do this, do that, do the other thing, but if that's not going to work for you, then it's pointless, and it won't provide value. So I think that working at the principle and the kind of method level, it actually means that we can help that many more people. So I hope that sounds good. So I'll go very quickly through just some recent clients. So tended to work more with people from New World regions, but that's not a hard and fast rule whatsoever. And I may just mention there, just that bottom right corner. I mean, I think that where again the experience has come from is I'm seeing more, and I'm seeking out actually more collaboration with events, because I think that actually events and podcasting, there's a really nice fit there, and it just sort of it goes together, which I think will become apparent as I kind of go through. So again, I think it's interesting to think about principles and just the bigger ideas. Why are we doing events? Why are we what are we actually trying to achieve? And I think that again, there are challenges in a lot of regions and with producers who maybe over time they've improved quality and they've gotten better, but still the old messages are kind of living in people's minds, usually rent-free. And I think it's I've heard this spoken about regions like Chile and South Africa, Bulgaria, right the way across the board, where maybe 20 years ago the wines were very simple, or they just weren't so known. So how do we kind of get things moving forward and get the prices up and again attract and bring new people into the category. So I think again the higher level thing, and this might be a good one to get your input on as well, Csaba, is this I think that actually what people are probably trying to do when they do events, I think it's about connection, and I think that again there you've got the wine brand on the left, and so many people talk about storytelling, talk about influencing. And then you've got on the right hand side there, you've got the wine trade, and I think that the challenge really, or maybe the opportunity there is, okay, how do we bring them together? How do we make sure that the wine brand is getting their message through to the wine trade, and in the landscape of there's 20 or 10 or 5 or however many different events that are all competing at the same time. So I don't know, Csaba, is that something that you?
Yeah, in my view, obviously, my big problem with just individually picking out one segment like wine events, for example, is always that wine events are great, but wine events are only great if they are in the mix of other things as well, because as you mentioned, you can't just pinpoint everything towards one little focus group, like I'm going to do 10 wine events. You have to build everything around them, and then I think that's where your sort of strategy works quite well in terms of you're probably going to come to that sort of point in your presentation as well, when people can see how you build up the event cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. And I think
okay. No, that and absolutely, that totally makes sense. And I think it's a useful point as well, because are people being over reliant on events? Is that maybe a clue why there are so many events, and why they kind of clash with each other, which both Wayne and Michelle in the comments have both just said. So again, that's where the money is going. So that's where we're focusing. So again, trying to get into principles, and this is based on again my experience, but then also just going to lots of tastings. I think it's easy to just go and just focus on the wine and focus on the social side of things, but I as well, again, it's the psychologist in me. I also just look at the room and kind of say, okay, is this the most efficient? Is this the most effective way? So yeah, through much testing and soul searching, I've come up with a model to basically look at what people are doing, the mistakes people are making, and but also get into solutions and get into, okay, what can people actually do to address those. So 4 event mistakes, and you'll see, as you say, Trevor, developing that model. So the first event mistake is, it's called leaving attention on the table, and it's effectively, it's that time period between when people sign up for an event and when the event actually takes place. And it's such a basically an ideal time to be seeding out marketing messages through those other channels, you know, warming people up before the event, letting them do the pre-research and, you know, read things, watch things, listen to things. But no one does it. I mean, literally, of all of the events that I've ever been to, I seriously, maybe it's happened and I've forgotten about it. I can't think of a single one where there's actually been some communication in that period where it's, okay, well, you know, look through this, maybe a tasting booklet a couple of days before, but it's like you're right at the end of that window. There's kind of so much more that could have been done. And again, if it's all about the region and the producers and, you know, getting more attention for them, then that whole time period has kind of been wasted, really. And, you know, it could have engaged people way more than actually happens.
Can I just jump in for on the first note?
Sure.
Because recently been to an event. It was, I'm from Hungary, and it was a Hungarian tasting, and somebody was ringing me in, but so yeah, I was at an event very recently, and it's just shocking that nobody actually dropped me a message before. And I'm not saying I'm important, but I do live in this city. I work in this wine community for quite a long time now, and like all these Hungarians flying in from Hungary, spending all that money on everything, what they do, and I didn't get a message from any of them. And again, I'm not saying I was expecting anything, but I did check out. I researched the audience before I went, so I don't know. It should be going the other way around as well. But again, we'll probably discuss this a little bit later with
100%. And I think it's you know, that's a great sort of deep example. And I think what we'll talk about later is maybe the scaling of that and kind of leverage really around that. So you know, giving people a kind of a personalized experience. But yeah, we'll definitely get to that. So so in terms of the mistakes, number 2 is it's a propensity to overwhelm attendees, because, you know, even and I'm not saying that this is what they did. Actually, they did quite the opposite. I was at a Uruguayan tasting yesterday, which I thought was great. There were like 10 or so producers there, but even then, even with an hour and a half and so few kind of, you know, relatively few producers there, I still didn't get to taste everything. You know, it's I think we often you know, overestimate how many wines or how many conversations are going to actually take place at these things, because you go in there and then you see somebody that you know, and you know, just in your normal, it just takes time, and then it takes time to taste and all these things. So I think just be aware, you know, you don't have to throw everything at people when they come in, because if they're only there for an hour, you know, they're not going to see the whole thing, which again is common in markets like London, people kind of nipping in and nipping out. Then what about the follow-up? You know, again, this is more an experiential thing. You know, most of the times, if there's going to be any follow-up, it's, okay, here's the catalogue, or here's the feedback form, and that's usually where it stops. And I think this is, you know, we spoke of some topics beforehand. I think, you know, a little bit of innovation here, and you're just thinking about that. And even if it's, you know, again, I'll get into solutions in just a moment, but you know, we need to warm people up, and oftentimes people try to go straight to the jugular, you know, for sales. Like, okay, you've seen, you've tasted, now it's time to buy. And, you know, maybe we still need to be romanced. After that time, we're not kind of ready to get married. We want to have a second or a third date. And content through many channels can be a great way to continue that romancing and that dating period, rather than sort of trying to get married straight after that event. You like my analogies, hopefully. And then let's get into the fourth point, which I think is, again, just sharing and preempting. This is the one I think I will talk tactically about, because this is the easy win. This is the one I think people should definitely be doing. So again, what is the personalization? Just when you sign up, they'll take your sector. Are you media? Are you a buyer? Are you a student, or whatever it is? But when is that information actually ever used? Where does that go? Is that just sitting on a spreadsheet somewhere? Or what are people actually doing with that information? And then, as you rightly say, Csaba, these map to that event experience over time. So right the way from there, from when you first schedule the event and you're telling people about it, you're reducing that, but by not warming people up, that attention goes straight down, and it's like, okay, I know it's in, I'll put it in my diary, and that's it. It's probable then that this arguably then kind of goes straight up. It's like a sensory overload on the day, and then it goes to crickets. There's no follow up, and again, the idea is that by not personalizing, again, the attention is being dampened. We all love the sound of our favorite word is our own name. We love feeling special, and there are 1,000,001 ways that brands out there successfully do that. And definitely, I think people who are running any type of events, but especially wine events, that's the area that we care about. They can definitely be using, and they're definitely losing attention by making those mistakes there. So I don't know, now that mistake side of things is built up, I don't know if you want to jump in again, Csaba, and just share anything.
I mean, no. I mean, obviously, I've seen these slides before, and I very much agree with every single one in terms of their importance and everything. I think this slide particular, it shows really well that what's missing. Because in the middle, when we are at the tasting, that's where we are there. And then even there's a problem of overwhelm. And there's that issue that I have about 2 hours for this tasting. I'm going around. I'm not going to speak to everybody. I'm not going to taste every wine.
Yeah.
How can you come up with a solution that all those wines which I should be tasting come to me, or all those people who I should be talking to actually talk to me? And I think you're right. I mentioned the pre-event life cycle, really, when I go to an event where nobody actually drops me a message before on LinkedIn or an email, and I actually see some of the, I know some of those producers already personally as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's because the actual event organizer didn't pass on the information what they have about the attendees. So let's say if there is X amount of wine producers in an event, should they receive all that information? I believe they should, about who is visiting the event. And then after that, obviously, when they go back home, or they go back to their daily routine, they themselves, I think, leave a lot of attention on the table, actually, on the post-event side of things, because they should be just literally messaging everyone, saying thank you for attending, and start the conversation there, because that's the other thing. It is a conversation, and you mentioned that yes, it's a little bit like a love affair. You have to fall in love, and then that doesn't happen just on one occasion, on a 5-minute interval. It has to be a longer conversation where this is the real conversation starts, because we know each other already in person. Then this is the time to actually discuss things further. But
absolutely,
anyway.
okay. And no, I'm just tracking the event on my phone. I can see there's 30 people online at the moment. So please, if you're watching, welcome. Please just drop a comment just to say, what your interest is around wine events. Are you an attendee? Are you organizing events? And maybe some feedback. I mean, I'm very I stand behind these models. I think they've accurately described from a high level what's going on. But again, does this reflect what you're seeing out there? Is this something that you think is kind of capturing the sense very well, or is there maybe even extra additions? I actually, as you were speaking there, Kshabre, I thought this almost needs to be 3-dimensional, to show that it's happening simultaneously, and the attention is getting split between different events that are kind of running at the same time. But I think I'll keep it to 2 dimensions for now. I won't give myself that task. Yeah,
guys, yes, definitely. Please comment and tell us where you watching it from, and just tell us your thoughts and opinions. And thank you for Wayne and Misha, who already put down some very useful comments.
Okay, and we'll, as you say, we'll get into comments slightly close towards the end. Again, this is another one of the models that I've developed. And again, this may or may not be something that you relate to as an event organizer. But again, it's something that I conceptualize, and I just think that when I speak to people who are organizing events, the focus is always on, okay, we've done ProVine, now we're going to do the press trip, then we're going to do a masterclass, and I just wonder if again, I want people to win, and I just wonder if actually it's not a need, or they don't need to actually do more events. They just need to maybe apply some of these concepts to the events they're already doing, where they can really amp up the attention that they're getting from something like an annual tasting, and actually, it might be better for everybody. It might be better for the organizer. It might be better for the attendee. So again, that's one to burn into your brain and have a think about before we open up the discussion. So definitely, want this to be positive, want this to be something constructive for people. So like I think most best models, we can move from the mistakes that people are making through a symmetry, really, right across to what are the solutions, the other side, what are we sort of trying to tweak those mistakes and turn them into, and empowering people, I think, to make more of the events they've spent money and time organizing. So that first stage, that leave attention on the table, I think the mirror side of that is actually a pre-event warm-up. So again, to your Hungarian example, this is maybe something where this could actually go out to everybody that registers, and you can maybe get a bit of VIP treatment separately from that. But what about actually sharing content? That has been produced around the topic. Whether it's something on a grape or a region, or sometimes a whole producer. It's like, okay, you're not devaluing the live experience if people have watched videos and listened to podcasts and read stuff already about your winery or your region. It does not devalue. It doesn't take away. Nothing replaces being in front of the winemaker and tasting with them. In most senses, I think it actually elevates that conversation that happens live. It's like you're not just having the same, oh, where are you based, and how many bottles do you make, and all the sort of really basic stuff. That type of knowledge I think it's better actually to get that across beforehand, and then people can come with the really interesting questions, and I think elevate the conversation, and maybe move it to what feels like a more advanced type of conversation, not just covering all the basics, repeating the same thing 50 times a day.
And also with that said, actually, people would come to the event by almost knowing you already. If they watch the video, they feel like they know you already, and I think that's already a win, because they go to your table more comfortably. They start talking to you easier than just without knowing somebody and just a name on the table, or a winery's name on the table.
Yeah, great point, because again, we're in a competitive environment. Even in something like the Hungarian tasting, which had about, I think, 20 something or so tables, people have to be selective. Again, if whoever you're trying to reach, if it's a buyer, if it's press, whatever your goal is, if you want to reach the MW that's in the room, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, for them to know you and say, okay, I had, I've got 10 minutes, I've got like possibly 10 wineries. I don't know any of them, but if you're, or 10 that I could taste, but if you are the one that sent information and people kind of know about you, it's like, okay, yeah, I remember their story sounded interesting. I think you're putting the table in your favor. You're tipping the odds towards people coming and actually tasting with you. So that's pre-event. I think then again, just we're in a busy arena, potentially kind of shoulder, elbows and shoulders, and get people getting in there, trying to get that one-to-one time with the producer. And I think again, due to the event itself, the nature of events, there will be people that come wanting to speak on one-to-one and have time with a particular producer, say, and they can't because there's somebody there tasting, or they've gone away to have lunch, or as happened to me the other day, I went to the table and I just missed him. He had to go and get his flight. So just practicalities sometimes just happen. So it's like, okay, what can be done? What can be given to the people that come to the tasting and don't get to talk to the person? It's like that's a plan B to have, I mean, and I don't know, it's less and less just a brochure is a lot. I think a lot of these things, they just sort of sit unread, and it's a lot of resource. I meant to get this before, actually, but this is just a selection of some of the tasting booklets that I picked up in the last sort of few days, and not even going to lots of tastings. And it's they're great to have, and they work as reference materials, but I think realistically a lot of these they're just not going to get read. So I think what might be the way to get some of that information out where in a format that people will actually consume.
Can I just jump in here very quickly on one note, because you pulled them out, and this is one of my big problems. We always talk about going green and and then we're printing out all these massive booklets. If you go to a big event, it's going to be very big, and it's not just big, and it's not just the the environment aspect of it, but I can't believe that in 2024 we're still going around with a pen and a massive booklet in our hands, plus our glasses, plus our phone on the other hand. I just can't believe that nobody actually came up with a solution where you create an app and you have your phone in your hand and literally go there, scan the QR code on the table, you get all the information about the bottles, you can at the same time take a picture, you can do everything, and all you have is a glass and a phone in your hand because you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think these sort of things as well, it's just missed opportunity, in my view. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. That's and then again, I'm trying to not get into too much tactics, but again, it's the principle is what is the follow-up, you know. I've spoken about using audio and video, and you know, but I think, you know, again, it's a point around, you've got to plan for people just not turning up, because that is a reality. Is again, with those multiple events happening simultaneously, you're going to get a no-show rate, and you see this. I'm sure you see it, Csaba, but you go to the event and you have all the badges there, and they essentially, the badges are just there, meaning that people didn't turn up. You know, so it's like, okay, great, people have said they're gonna come, and they couldn't come, and that's of course fair enough. But what is the plan? What do you do with those people? What do they get that brings them back in, and you know, gives them some of the story, some of the benefit of having gone to that tasting. I think with planning, it definitely can be given to those people. And then, you know, personalization again. So you go from, you know, finding out where people are to actually not doing something with it, to actually doing something with it. And again, this is I think the only time, well, you know, unless people specifically ask, you know, where I would say, okay, tactic or just observation, such an easy win. I think in all the tables I've ever been to and ever tasted, I can count probably on my, you know, one hand the number of times that people actually, before they start the tasting, before they start a conversation, they say, okay, who are you? You know, asking me who am I? You know, oh, looking at and you have badges at these things as well. So it's like, oh, Lawrence, you're from Interpreting Wine. What does Interpreting Wine do? Actually, you know, kind of, it feels like, you know, taking the time, and I appreciate, you know, people, they want to get into the wine, and maybe some other people, you know, maybe giving them that feedback. But I think, you know, giving people the opportunity to share what they're looking for, and it's like, okay, you can tailor what you're showing the way. You might be in front of a buyer or a writer who's got a specific focus, and one of your wines is like right up their street, is really the thing that they're after. But if you don't ask them who they are and kind of why they're there that day and what's front of mind, you know, it can be a 10-second conversation. But, you know, do that. Find out who stood in front of you, and tailor what you're going to say and how you're going to say it to the person. The wines are going to be the same, but you can position them and talk about them in a slightly different way.
I suppose in many ways this is goes back to a bit more information sharing from the organizer towards the attendees and towards the exhibitors, because essentially they are the ones who are holding all this information. They know who are attending, they know who are exhibiting. They should be making the effort to actually create these connections in advance a little bit more, in my view. But anyway.
Yeah, totally. But I think as well, I did just want to give something that's like, you know, if you don't have any of that, like if you don't do anything else, because I appreciate, you know, there's me saying do this and do that, or, you know, I can say that, and then people are like, look, we're busy, you know, I get it, but just that one thing of, if nothing else you have, just, you know, before somebody comes to the table, just kind of just stop yourself. Don't go straight into, here's the first wine, like, ask people, you know, who are you? You know, what's your deal? You know, just find out a little bit about the person. I think it'll be more interesting as well. You're not kind of just then on autopilot. It's like, okay, wow, this person is from this magazine, or they're from this podcast, and you know, you can adapt it, and you can maybe even have a better success yourself. You can kind of pitch ideas and, you know, pitch next steps to them based on what they've shared, and, you know, who they are. So, you know who you're pouring for.
I am just from speaking from experience, it works really well in the first part of the tasting, but when you're standing behind the table and this is like your 5th hour and you're pouring the same wine to the people, it's like, okay, I'm done now. But obviously it's not the right attitude, and it's not the solution what we're looking for. So yes, I appreciate. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think but again, though, wouldn't that be more interesting if, because you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's like, people are not robots, and I don't like to see any winemaker or anyone who's pouring like being treated like a glorified bartender. It's like, no, actually, if people, I would imagine that would be interesting. Appreciate sometimes it's busy and that, but in the times when it's not so busy, just find out who's there, because it can help everyone.
Exactly.
And then I think just trying to relate this back to actual return on investment. I know we spoke before we started. Return on investment, I think, was something that we thought, okay, this has to be part of a conversation, because nobody just runs events for the fun of it. You want to try to get events. So I see those four kind of positive things, or the opposite of mistakes. I see that as a way to increase the pre-event signups. If you've got information that's out there, because you're kind of getting people interested in the topic beforehand, so they'll say, all right, I know I've got multiple tastings that day, or I'm busy, but okay, that region, that new region of Italy, or the Bulgarian tasting, okay, yeah, now I've seen I heard a podcast or seen a video, yeah, maybe I'll register. And then also on the day, it's like, okay, now I'm running out of time, I can only go to one tasting. Okay, I remember the stories I heard from those Bulgarians, so I'll go to their tasting and not the other one down the road. But then, of course, people, they can't turn up. So this gives, thinking about the content that's produced, it gives you a way to actually re-engage people that couldn't turn up, that I spoke about earlier. And then actually just making sure that, as you say, people that have gone around and they've made those notes, and if your handwriting is anything like mine, you can't read the note again afterwards, and it just looks like a spider has gone on your page. It's like, okay, if you've got something in a format where people can actually use it afterwards, you're kind of making sure you're taking that bad note taking, which again I do all the time. You're taking that out of the equation. You're like saying, okay, this is here are the interesting stories, and here are the the details about the wine, and you're giving people the ammunition and what they need to be able to kind of report and write stories afterwards.
Yes, I completely agree with your whole sort of setup and whole process, I believe. And I do think there's plenty more to discuss about this sort of the whole future of wine events. Which wine events do you think at the moment is looking the most positive about changes? Do you have a wine event which you have in mind which feels like they are on the right track, or is there anything what you feel like is going to the right direction?
If I had to,
if any,
yeah. Again, I think for me, I would pick out not to kind of name names, but I'll have to name a name because I was there yesterday. But I think things like and I know it's not the style for everybody, but things like the wines of Uruguay tasting yesterday, I thought it was fantastic, because it was literally, again, it was sort of around 15 or so tables. It was a small tasting. There weren't too many people there. And I think I know the pushback is, okay, it's Uruguay. It's not it's not like a California or a gigantic sort of region. But I think actually I think it does give a model where, okay, you can think about not just having one big event at one point of the year. It's like, okay, how do we kind of almost bottle that experience and put that out into people right the way kind of through the year. Again, I don't want to go too much into solutions and tactics, but I think that's the mindset that I think more people could have, where they're thinking, okay, how do we what are we sharing with people in April and in May and June? Where we sort of actually, again, that graph there, we try to spread the engagement across the year rather than just say, okay, we've got one big tasting in one day, and if you're away on holiday or you're sick, then you can't, you won't be able to come. I think there's an opportunity with technology to actually spread that engagement thinner across the year.
Yes, and we get comments in terms of a little bit about how the event organizers didn't really communicate to each other as well, because everything sort of falls into on one day, 3 big events or something, and you can't go to these things. These are so obvious mistakes. These are so obvious solutions to that, I suppose, in terms of creating some sort of a dynamic between them a little bit, in my view, because obviously that would help people as well who you want to go to a few different events when you go somewhere, especially if you're coming outside of London, because us being in London is many ways it's a luxury. For people traveling from Liverpool, Manchester, wherever, to London events, that's very expensive as well. So it's not just for the exhibitors, but it's also for the attendees as well to come down and have a day out in London and taste London.
Totally. So and then you add think about the cost of coming from Uruguay, and the flights and the hotels and all of those sorts of things. So I think definitely can look at that. So I think it would be great to hear from the audience, really. I think you started to look at some of the comments that have come through, and just to say as well, again, what I've shared here is a kind of a preview, if you like, of a session that I run. Pretty much, it's been once a month for the last few months. The Wine Marketing Roundtable, and if what I've shared and what you've seen there kind of resonates with you, then I'd love to have you on for a session that's a small group session. It goes a little deeper and does get into slightly more of the tactics and some of the things that are working from my perspective. And there's a couple that are already booked. So one coming up 2 weeks time, and then another one in April as well. So it's just interpretingwine.com/VIP if you want to register and get on the wait list for that.
And just to clarify, that is part of that is what you shared here, but obviously there's a few more things which happen as well.
I think we've focused more on the events, I think, because of the time of the year. But there's again, keeping it relatively high level here so that people can apply the tactics or people can apply the principles and the models. So I'm happy for you to put this then into just us two on the screen, which I think will maybe be a bit easier.
Is it the better look? I'm not sure. We have to ask the viewers if they prefer the slides or us. But
exactly.
Yeah, I was just gonna come back on Nelly, if you're still around. She mentioned that there's been several events that use that approach, which I mentioned. The app on the phone sort of thing. Because if there are, I'd love to know where you come across them, because I never met an event. I don't know, Lawrence, did you meet any?
I mean, I would say that I have, and it's I have to name names really, because I don't think there's anyone else that's in that space, but who has sort of integrated, which is Bottle Books.
Okay.
And I remember at something like the New Zealand tasting, you arrived and there was a QR code that said, okay, scan this and you can go to the Bottle Books page. And I think for me, where I see it as the challenge, though, I think where from memory, you had a booklet there at New Zealand. you had the QR code, but I didn't see anybody kind of going down the QR code route. It felt as though maybe the solutions are there, but potentially they're not there to the point, or people don't have the perception that they're going to be better than using the paper. So I think there is a tension at the moment where you do have a little bit of that. As I say, the only ones I've seen have really been bottle books, but I've not seen massive adoption of that in the tasting. It's people, as you say, holding a glass, holding a book, holding a pen, holding a camera. You know, it's like juggling all of these things.
Yes, I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the new the nature of the whole setup. You know, it's just for me it would be a lot easier because I have my phone anyway, and what I tend to do when I'm on the tasting, I just take a picture of a bottle, because then I remember better. This was my hero wine. I need to take a picture. Some people obviously take a picture like this, where they doing the influencer part. But yes, there we go. Bottle books, Italian tasting last year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. It anyway. That's probably the future for me in many ways. At least that would be a solution, but that doesn't solve a lot of other problems which we have in the event sector. I have a few solutions and a few ideas, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of a company called Online Wine Tasting Club or Online Wine Tasting Company. And again, I'm not promoting them. I'm not getting any financial rewards from them, but I really love their solution. And I think as a tasting solution, they do little bag-in-box sort of things, which go through your letterbox, and the quality is absolutely superb. And the cost of it is just it's just a fraction of a cost of a tasting, a physical tasting.
Have you got it there? Sorry about it.
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm happy to share it with anyone who is interested. But I think it's just the way I explained it to you, Lawrence, as well before, that I spoke to a producer on a tasting, and they were saying it cost them £4,000 to go to a tasting, including hotel travel, the bottles, what they pour to people, and they don't know if there's gonna be a return on investment. And I appreciate that we never actually know the ROI on these events as such, but at the same time, I think it has to be some sort of compromise where the supplier can have some sort of, whether it's just the data which get from the event organizer about the attendees and approach them maybe easier in the future. I don't know what is the exact solution, but I think that there are a few basics what we can sort, definitely.
I agreed, and I think just in terms of what people are talking about, and the hot topics, and something that you brought up as well. I think we've got sort of 6 minutes to ram it in there, but AI, I think is a topic that a lot of people are talking about, and that's why I think actually the first step for me that I recommend is actually just taking a step back from the process and thinking about, okay, what are the themes, again, those common mistakes, those common solutions. And then I think something like AI, it can become then a tool. It can become a tool for, okay, if we want to send out articles, or we want to even create pictures or media that we want to send out to people beforehand to kind of warm them up, then why can't AI help with that? Why can't it make that job that's on the list that is a nice to have? Why can't it make it a reality? Why can't it get people more efficient and getting them to? So again, it's why I think that it's a mistake to just think of, okay, going into AI without without any model in your head, an idea of what you're trying to achieve, I think it's easy to get lost, and you just end up sort of swimming in this current of AI and going anywhere. But again, I think there's something there in terms of, okay, what are we trying to do here, guys? What's the objective? Why are we running events? And then how can AI help us to get there easier and better?
Yeah. Looks like Wines of Spain as well use the online systems.
What about?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just gonna mention one thing which I seem to be coming across more and more, generally not just about wine events, but wine marketing in general. That maybe the most important underlying problem is that we don't see this we don't see events as part of a strategy. Generally, we go to events because we've been told that we have to go to events, but we don't actually have a strategy why we're going and which one we're going. It's just because people said that, okay, you have to be at Pro Wine, or you have to be at Wine Expo or Vinitaly or London Wine Fair, and people more there with hopes than actual strategies, and that's what I tend to find. And then they testing out events because they don't have the actual data from the events before, and I think that might be the big problem which the event organizers have to solve somehow for the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, hopefully what I've shared is, it does. I think it does empower individuals as well, because I think you're right. It's even with this event here, you saw that there's been a shift now in terms of how LinkedIn serves you the names of people that have registered, and kind of keeping that information. And I totally get that, with a lot of PR companies, that is kind of their business really is built on their contacts, built on their database. So they're I think rightfully going to be a little bit protective around that. So maybe they don't share everything that's kind of coming through. So hopefully, again, just thinking about, okay, what are people seeing before the event? What are they seeing during the event? What are they seeing after? And how do you personalize it? Again, just that really low hanging fruit of somebody, Provine is next week. You'll probably know it's very, make the appointment, it's very German, but you just have also, sometimes you just get people, you catch their eye as they're walking by, like, oh, hey, you're not doing anything, I'm not doing anything, come and have a taste. But then, look at the label, just find out a little bit about what they're doing. That's something that anyone can do.
I suppose quite a few companies actually do this already. So obviously, I got a lot of emails from various places. Come and see me at Provine. Obviously, I'm not going to Provine, but so their email is missed there. But at least they're trying. So which is already a positive thing.
And I know you like the hard questions, and actually you've done consumer events before. So I just seen this question, and so it's a fair comment from Nelly around. We have focused really on trade events today. So what about consumer events, opening events to general public? Should it be an essential tool to getting the product in front of the people who will drink it?
Yes, I mean, if I can answer that personally, I think it's a very positive thought. And then some event organizers do it. They do it separately, so they have an event for the trade, and then do it in the afternoon, obviously, or in the evening for the public itself. I do think it's necessary, but what I see, unfortunately, on the other hand, is actually I've been turned away from events before, and I'm not saying I'm sad about this, but it is in many ways sad, because there was an English tasting where I've been sent an email saying, can you explain why why I want to go. And what they didn't know is just half a year before that, I put together a whole wine list for a wine bar. So, and then don't take it as pride or anything, but I just decided that I'm not even gonna reply to this because I'm not that interested. So I just left. Even I didn't go, and I understand they have to protect the exhibitors as well. And I think that sort of answers Nelly's question about why they're not opening to general public. They afraid of the general public taking advantage of the producers as well.
Okay. Yeah. Now I see. But I assume also Nelly may also just been referring to just consumer events as well. Just ones that are kind of quite tailored. And would you mind just bringing up the presentation again? Just
yeah, sure.
Csaba, just because I think to your point, Nelly, I think this actually applies to consumer events as well. Again, it's that whole thing. If you buy a ticket to go to a tasting, what are you actually getting in the period in between buying the ticket and actually turning up at the tasting? Is are we treating people who are, maybe it's their first ever wine tasting, and again they've kind of paid and made the sacrifice to kind of go in there and maybe looking forward to that. It's like, okay, can we help them? Can we give them a steer? Because again, I went to the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 fine wine event a few years ago, and there's an overwhelming number of producers there. Literally into the hundreds. So I can imagine that, again, if that's maybe your first, or you don't have too much experience there, what about giving people a steer? Giving them the ability to kind of research stuff beforehand, giving them, again, multi-channel information on the day, so that, okay, maybe there's a big queue by the producer they wanted to go to. Is how are we empowering people to get that information through a separate channel? Again, the follow-up, are we just sort of, I don't know, we just sort of trying to sell wine to people afterwards, and a feedback? Again, I think content can help increase their attention and hook them in to wine, and build on what they've seen on the day, which is hopefully a positive experience. And again, I don't know exactly, personalization maybe is slightly more difficult when people don't fit so much into press and buyer, etc. But certainly, again, where there's a chance, have a conversation with people, and maybe don't just go straight to the wine. Actually try to relate other stories from the winery and from the winemaker and from the region to what people are interested in. Personalize the message, and that's where live will, and should always win. That personalization point.
Yes. I think we covered a fair bit here. I don't think we covered everything, but an hour never going to be enough.
Exactly. No, we'll leave it there then. And I'm happy to follow up. I'm sure, Csaba, you're happy to follow up with anyone who's seeing this on a replay. I think can you put the registration link again, if you don't mind, on the bottom? I think you've got you've got a fancy ticker.
I have everything here. I didn't use too much of it today, but anyway, it's that's
the master of the LinkedIn Live. So yeah, it's been great to be in your presence, Csaba. Thanks for having us here. You're carving out a reputation as the king of LinkedIn Live.
I only did 2. This is the second one, so I don't think I'm there yet. But anyway,
two more than 99.9% of people. Innovation, trying things. I take my hat off to you. So good on you, mate. Good on you.
But thank you very much, everyone who joined, and guys, if you commented as well, we definitely gonna reply to comments as well afterwards. And you can watch it back later. I'm not sure if Lawrence is gonna use this or repurpose this in his podcast episodes. I'm sure. I think I'm gonna put it on YouTube. later as well. Yes, and then we will discuss this later, and then who knows, we come back with another topic at another time. So,
yeah. Give us your feedback, please. Again, this is hopefully been helpful. I think we've both been thinking about, okay, who is here and who's engaging, and how can we give you insight and knowledge, and just sort of open up the conversation, because I think it's something that will help wine overall. Again, it's not about us. I think it's about the bigger implications around getting more people into wine. So
exactly,
cool stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, any comments, any questions, please drop us a message, a comment, a DM, whatever. You found us on LinkedIn. You definitely can connect as well, and I'm looking forward to chat to people as well. More. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll speak to you later. Cheers, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers. Ciao.